What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls. Later on today's episode, talk about some of the things coming out and the fallout after the game against the Toronto Raptors, and we're gearing up to face the Raptors again today. Dalen Terry gets his first double-digit minute game. How did he perform? We're going to talk about all that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
All right, Bulls fans. So last night was a very frustrating loss for a few different reasons. Once again, the Bulls are really, they seem flabbergasted by simple defense. And so while the Toronto Raptors' length, even more so than their height, is just so much for a team that plays small to overcome, as well as when you look at like Koloko and the amount of blocks he's got. But former college teammate of Dalen Terry too, by the way. Shout out to him for he balled out. Like you can't look at anything in that game being fair and take a look and say, hey, listen, the Toronto Raptors went and did something. They came out and executed a game plan that really took DeMar DeRozan out of the game and nullified him down the stretch. And they basically dared another Chicago Bull to step up. And while some players did hit big shots, Vooch stepped up big time in the second half. Patrick Williams hit a couple of big shots and needed shots in the second half as well, having 13 points in this game. I would assume even hitting some big shots. Nothing was consistent. When the double team came to DeMar DeRozan, a lot of times what you saw is that it was flustered from this offense. DeMar didn't know what to do with the ball. The players weren't moving or diving and cutting without the ball, so it really didn't create much. And this is one of the biggest problems from the Chicago Bulls last season that I talked about. When you're not moving without the ball, it makes everything stagnant. And then on top of that, when you're playing a long team like the Toronto Raptors, where we just don't have the size to combat them right now, especially with Andre Drummond being out, this type of game is going to happen. Like at the end of the day, this still was a winnable game for the Chicago Bulls. They didn't hit the shots down the stretch. They didn't make the defensive stops necessary down the stretch. They didn't make the adjustments to the Toronto Raptors defense down the stretch, and they just got outworked in this game. They just got outworked. And that is one of the downsides of having a smaller team, a team that plays small. And much like last season, we really don't have the size to withstand an injury at all to either of our big men. Like we've been able to do it for some so far because we haven't faced teams with the biggest size and height. But when you are facing a team like the Toronto Raptors that have a legit 7-footer, on top of that, just the wingspans all up and down that roster, and on top of that as well, you let Fred VanVleet go the hell off. 9 for 22 for 30 points, 5 for 13 from the three-point range, hitting some big buckets for the Toronto Raptors. When you have those type of performances, it's always going to be difficult to win the game. And so this has brought a bigger focus on this team. Like they need somebody else to step up. It can't always just be Vooch and DeMar. And Zach, even though, we don't play another back-to-back till mid-December, so hopefully we're seeing Zach way more than what we've seen and we get him consistently in the lineup. But when he's out, you need somebody who's going to step up, take on that scoring load, and hit enough shots to make this to keep other teams honest when they are trying to double-team DeMar DeRozan. Now, Alex Caruso's shooting, right? That's one of the biggest things and biggest stories coming out of this and that have come in this short part of the season. Alex Caruso is a liability shooter. Just period. There's no way around that. But keep in mind, the way that this roster is shaped up, when everybody's healthy, Alex Caruso shouldn't be shooting a lot of shots. Yes, he took 11 shots in this game. Keep in mind, for his career, Alex Caruso was maybe averaging 5 shots per game for his career. Maybe 6. Let's take a look at this real quick. I can give you the exact numbers. Alex Caruso averages 5.1 shots a game for his career. You know why? Because while he's a good shooter at times, right? While he's good, when you don't need to rely on Alex Caruso shooting, and it more comes in the nature of the offense, right? You swing it, he gets some open shots, even though he missed a lot of open ones tonight. That's how you want to use Alex Caruso as a shooter. Alex Caruso is not a volume shooter on this team. But like I said, luckily, there's so many people ahead of him in the pecking order when we're healthy. If Zach's there, if Kobe's there, right? Goran is going to be ahead of him in the pecking order of shooting when Alex Caruso's on the bench. Things like that. But Alex Caruso's shooting's absolutely now become a liability for the Chicago Bulls, especially during this point in the season where we're seeing Zach LaVine sit the number of games that Zach LaVine has sat. So, those type of things they need to work on. They need to figure the hell out. I've said even before, like, while Kobe has not played great this season, it's almost better to start Kobe when Zach is out, just so you have some shooting out there. But even then, like, Kobe doesn't bring the defensive thing. So you kind of trading one thing for another. So it kind of is, you're doing what you can there. I said before the game that when Alex Caruso's in the starting lineup, that means you now have to make this a defensive game. That's what you have to do. You can't get into a shootout. And so the number of second chance points that the Toronto Raptors had in this one, the fact that they out rebounded us hugely, this is just a one of the things that with the way that this roster is constructed, we're going to run into when we don't have Andre Drummond and Nikola Vucevic out there. When you have both of them healthy, yes, that changes the rebounding battle of this game for sure. It changes some of the being outworked on the offensive boards. But at the end of the day, the defense still was not at the level of the consistency to really earn winning this game. It just wasn't. We get out-rebounded 52-46. We get solid scoring production off the bench, right? And they try to change the energy where they can. But at the same time, this team has to make adjustments and do so big time. This was a game that, in watching it, if you actually viewed the game, yeah, we were able to go on runs. Yeah, we were able to change every time it felt like we were about to get the momentum. We either turnover, a bad shot. They killed us, demoralized us on the offensive rebounds toward the end of the game. They just 1, 2, 3 offensive rebounds in a single possession that ends in a wide open shot, a dunk eventually. Those are the type of things that the Bulls are going to have to eliminate. They're going to have to come out with way better energy tonight against the Toronto Raptors. The story of this game is going to be the same. They're going to try to outwork us with their length, with their athleticism, with their size that we can't really match up with too well. They're going to come out trying to do those things against the Bulls tonight. The Bulls have to execute a better game tonight, especially if Zach LaVine's in that offense in the game tonight. If he's in that lineup, when they double DeMar, we have to make them pay with shooting. Zach LaVine, who hasn't put the ball on the floor and gotten to the cup to the level that we're used to yet, but one thing that has been on for him is his shooting. This is going to be a game in which Zach LaVine shooting, having that in the lineup versus Alex Caruso is going to make big differences. But outside of just those differences, this team is going to have to work to get a win against the Toronto Raptors. This is not a team that you can finesse. This is a team that you have to come in, you have to work, you have to do the gritty things, you have to go after loose balls, you have to box out, you have to go after those rebounds. And yes, even doing all those things, with the lack of size that we have, there are going to be times that we just get outworked on the rebounding ends, but we have to give that effort. We have to rotate out on the three-point line. The pick-and-roll defense has to be much better. The transition defense has to be much better. And the ball movement on the offensive side of the ball, this team has to move without the ball when you don't have the size. Right? And you're facing a team that has the length that the Toronto Raptors do. You have to continually move without the ball because guess what? If you allow those defenders to stand in one spot with the length that they have around the court, they're going to get tips. They're going to tip the ball. They're going to get steals. They're going to do all those things because you aren't moving without the ball. You aren't creating separation by movement. That's what this team has to do. The double teams are going to come from DeMar, especially when you don't have a Zach LaVine out there. The one thing and the benefit that I saw in the Bulls playing without Zach LaVine is that this team was going to have to learn to play without him. They were going to have to learn to rely on other people. They were going to have to learn who needs to step up. And while Patrick Williams, I will say in this game, stepped up big time defensively against Scottie Barnes, having some really good defensive possessions with him, forcing him to be an ineffective shooter. Going, 19 shots for 19 points. That's the kind of efficiency that you want to hold Scottie Barnes to on the offensive end when it comes to shooting. I want to see Patrick Williams box him out a little bit better in this game for sure. I want to see Patrick Williams, just be that defender. I love the fact that Patrick Williams was aggressive in taking shots today. That's what we need to see from this team. That's what we need to see from Patrick Williams. He's going to have to step up. I love the fact that he got double-digit shot attempts. I'm glad that he took that. I'm glad he didn't let the last game against Boston in his head to where he just was back to being timid or passive P. We saw a Patrick Williams that did try to go after. Now, he didn't hit the ball efficiently. None of us did. We were not a good shooting team last night. Shooting the ball 45% overall from the field and 36% from three-point range. We need to be better in those areas. And I understand. Yes, we're missing Drummond. Yes, we're missing Kobe. Yes, we're missing Zach. Derrick Jones Jr., who almost missed this game as well. I know all those things and all those factors play a part in the things. But the effort that this team gave just was not enough last night. And I want to see that be fixed. We now know what they're going to try to do. How we attack the double team when it comes. Does DeMar play good enough to force the double team? We need to keep them honest as well by shooting the ball better. Executing our offense and going through those sets is going to do wonders for the Chicago Bulls tonight against the Toronto Raptors. We need to see it, and we need to see a step up. Now, one of the players that we did see a lot of that we haven't seen a lot in the season last game was Dalen Terry. A lot of people calling for the Rook, and the Rook doing the type of thing that I expected from the rookie. He was 2 for 2 from the field, but chipping in 1 rebound, 1 assist, 1 steal, 1 block, only 1 turnover as well in his 10 minutes on the court, his first time getting into that. And the thing that I have always said with Dalen Terry is that when he does get a chance, he has to make a statement. He has to make his presence felt so that he can stay in that starting lineup. And Coach Billy Donovan had this to say. He was fine. It's hard for him because he hasn't got consistent minutes, but he's going to play with energy and make something happen. He, no question, had some blown assignments, but that's normal and to be expected. I was happy he got a chance. I love his competitive spirit. Well, use him. We are going to have to rely on Dalen Terry at times in this season. When you look at Caruso shooting, being ineffective, when you look at Kobe being out now and him being inconsistent as well. I'm glad that the rookie got some time in and looked pretty good in that time, flashing the kind of all-around game that you can expect from him early on as he polishes his offense and the shooting and things like that. Dalen Terry is going to be a guy that gets a lot of stats in over the course of the stat sheet, but may not have the 15, 18, 12-point games, but he's going to do a lot of the dirty stuff. I like that he got in this game, and we may very well see him tonight, even with Zach LaVine possibly being back, because we may need that. We may need that length, right? We may need that to combat what the Toronto Raptors are doing. And I, for one, am happy that the young man stepped up and played pretty well today. Now, we know that the Bulls are in a pretty tough stretch of games. We have Toronto coming up again tonight. And then after that, we play again Wednesday against New Orleans, which is going to be a dog fight. Be on the lookout for that. New Orleans is balling. Then we got the reigning 2-time MVP, Jokic coming in with Denver. After that, we got New Orleans again. We got Orlando, Boston, and Milwaukee. That is basically the rest of November outside of OKC, Utah, and Phoenix to end the month. This is going to be a really interesting stretch for the Chicago Bulls, and I keep saying and I keep telling you guys, we're going to know where this team sits now. There's some people now, hey, I don't even know if we can be playing this team. And I understand it because this team has looked really good in some areas and really bad in others. We need to see this team consistently. And part of that is we need to know when Zach LaVine is going to wake up and give us the Zach LaVine that they paid $215 or $10 or whatever $million to. We need to see that guy. I understand the injury, working yourself back, trusting the knee. I understand all that. But at some point, we need to get that player because betting on the potential, the hope, and so much of Zach LaVine getting back, Lonzo eventually being back. Listen, we got to play games now. And Andre Drummond doesn't seem like he's coming back anytime soon. This team has to find their heart tonight against the Toronto Raptors and respond in a much better way than what they did last night and show much better preparation from the coaching staff to the players to everything. We need to execute much better tonight if we want to get a win against the Toronto Raptors because it's not going to be easy. Ain't nothing coming easy for the Chicago Bulls against the Toronto Raptors. But let's see what we got. Tonight, we'll be back on. We got our pregame, our halftime hangout, and postgame shows all tonight here at Chicago Bulls Central. So make sure you're tuned in. Hit the subscribe button. We're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers by my birthday, December 5th. So hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed as well. But that's it for me for today. I'm Haize. Make sure you follow the show at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform. You can also send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. If you want to leave a text and or voicemail for our weekend mailbag episodes, the number to do so is 773-270-2799. We're the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related because of you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.